all the time.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Being a part of people's lives from an engagement ring to a wedding band. Before you know it, the wedding day is here and groom and bride are exchanging gifts on that day. And not too long after that, there's baby gifts to have. And I just enjoy being part of other people's family saying, Mr. Friend did my engagement ring and he did my mom and dad's engagement ring. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand.
Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you. Thanks so much for joining us. Got a fantastic show lined up for you on this wide open Wednesday. Very excited about it. I love getting these guys on the program each and every week. Couple of New Orleans natives. Left-leaning Ellis Henican joins us. Ellis, how are you? Always a pleasure. You're keeping an eye on what?
My friend Chris Christie is about to suspend his campaign for the presidency.
What's that all about?
I think he doesn't want Donald Trump to be the next president. I think he has a new path to trying to get there.
Quin, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. And I'm even liked what Chris Christie was doing in this campaign to try to put some pressure on Donald Trump. I think he's probably doing the right thing right now in a way that will also hurt Trump, at least marginally.
Boy, but just dozens and dozens and dozens of points. I'm trying to be nice. 30, 40 points ahead of everybody else?
But not in New Hampshire.
And I guess that's what you focus on right now, New Hampshire, Iowa, the ball that's in front of you?
Exactly. I mean, look, the only way Trump loses is if his aura of invincibility is pierced. And the only way that happens is if he takes a big hit early in one of the first three states. And New Hampshire is by far the likeliest to see Trump get a comeuppance, and by Chris Christie dropping out, he makes it more likely that Nikki Haley can take down Trump in New Hampshire.
It is a wide open Wednesday. That's Quin Hillyer, right-leaning Quin Hillyer. You can check him out, quinhillyer.com. Left-leaning Ellis Henican's with us. You can check him out at henican.com. Ellis, Trump said, quote, "I feel that as president, you have to have immunity."
Oh, yeah, how to do anything you want under any circumstances. Boy, didn't you love that set of hypotheticals the judge presented to his attorney at the appellate court in the district yesterday? It would be, you couldn't be prosecuted if you sold military secrets. You couldn't be prosecuted if you sold parts. You couldn't be prosecuted if you sent SEAL Team 6 to assassinate one of your political opponents. Boy, it was a piece of polemic mastery that came from the bench yesterday in Washington.
Quin?
I agree. I mean, look, I have long parted company with conservatives who have been big executive power advocates. I think that, and certainly the left has had its share of executive power advocates too, but the idea that the president is above the law should be anathema to every American. And Trump's team right now is basically saying if the man is president, he can do anything he wants and not get punished for it. And that is clearly wrong.
But also,
listen, guys, this is obviously, I may say, this is obviously very difficult. I mean, Trump is Corey, you're right. He's miles ahead. He still has a tremendously deep support inside the Republican Party. He's been strong in the polls in swing states recently against Joe Biden. So anything that happens today in terms of the Christie campaign, obviously a very heavy lift. But if you're Chris Christie, you got to look at it through his eyes, which is, listen, this guy would be a very bad person to have back in the White House. I've got to do what I can to try and make that less likely to happen. I can't ride the ego trip of running a campaign that can't win. I've got to get behind someone else who has a better chance, and maybe together, maybe, not for sure, but maybe we could take the kind of shot that Quin is talking about.
Ellis, Liz Cheney says by 2024, after this election in November, 11 months away, the Republican Party as we know it won't exist. And that's Liz Cheney saying this. I respect Liz Cheney. I think Liz Cheney is a consummate conservative Republican, has been steadfast, integrity, honor. She doesn't just throw stuff out to try to gain traction. She says things I think that are very, commonsensical, measured, thought out. What do you think about that?
I think she's right, but she may be 11 months too late. I'm not sure that today we have the Republican Party that we grew up with, a conservative party that was in favor of small government and a strong military and a powerful United States on the world stage. The Republican Party of Ronald Reagan, tracing its roots all the way back to Lincoln. I think that party may be gone already. It certainly will be gone after the next election, but I'm not sure we have so much of it today.
Quin?
I'm in occasional touch with Liz, and I will ask her for more elucidation on this theory of hers. I don't know whether she's saying that it's just the Republican Party as we know it, or if she's actually saying that the party itself will collapse for all intents and purposes as a formal entity. I'm not sure which one she's saying.
I think what she's saying, I can't speak
if she's
for
just saying the former, she is right that what the party has been doing for the last couple of years does not look like the party that Ellis and I and you grew up with.
I think the fanatical side of the party is what she's referring to. Like that part has to break off. I'm having trouble keeping up, to be honest with you, Quin. Mike Johnson is a rhino. Like that's what that side of the party's selling. Like I can speak for liberals and Democrats and Ellis here, and for a lot of folks, even though I'm an independent, I have empathy. They don't think at all that Mike Johnson is anywhere near a rhino. They don't think Liz Cheney's anywhere near. I mean, politically, from a realistic standpoint, talking in an old-fashioned way, I guess old school way, Liz Cheney is not a rhino by any stretch, which a lot of people push. Now, 2024, Mike Johnson, he's a loony, kind of wacky right-wing guy, Quin. He's illogical. He's sort of anti-Constitution when he claims he is Constitution. So I can't keep up with the Republican Party when what most people, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, would say are mainstream conservative Republicans, even hardcore right a little bit, like Liz Cheney. She's not flexing anywhere towards moderate or left. To say they're rhinos, I can't even figure this crap out anymore.
Well, let me say that this is what Mike Johnson gets for first playing footsie with the radicals, and then, but then, to his credit, I guess you got to give him some credit. He's actually trying to do a constructive thing with these budget negotiations, and the same radicals turn around and kneecap him. But I also have to say, out of 218 Republicans in the House, it's only 12 that kneecapped him today by voting down his so-called rule that will govern how they handle this budget thing. So again, only 12 out of 218 shows that most of the Republican Party in the House still at least has some understanding that to govern you actually have to make at least a few compromises.
I can't keep up on any of this stuff anymore, Ellis. I really can't. I mean, are any liberals or Democrats thinking any of these? I mean, pretty extreme, hardcore conservative Republicans are rhinos. It's crazy.
No, listen, most people are still pretty sane, Corey, thank goodness. And we may have our political differences, but most people think that we ought to have a government that operates. The roads and the bridges ought to continue to stand. The children ought to be educated in schools. We ought to have a strong defense in the world. That's where most people are. Our government is broken. I mean, the mechanisms of our government have gotten paralyzed by that, the narrowness of our divisions and the extremism on the edges. And it has made it very difficult for us to solve problems. And that's, to me, what we got to get back to. We know what the big problems are. Most of us even agree on the solutions. But we've got to quit being the captives of people who put ideology in front of the nation.
We're visiting.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And look, I am one of those conservatives who, I mean, I've got a over 45-year record of being a Reagan conservative, but these people, like the 12 that kneecapped Speaker Johnson today, they're not living in the real world, and they're hurting the whole country while they engage in their fantasies. Yeah. Corey, can I tell you guys about a book I have coming out in a couple of weeks that I think is relevant to all of this?
Yes, good timing. Yeah.
So it is called What Would Reagan Do? And I know Quin is going to like it. It's something that I wrote with Governor Christie. It's coming out in the early part of February, whatever the first February, Tuesday in February is. That's the date of release, and it is looking at the politics of today and taking the principles of Ronald Reagan's life and applying them to those things. It's a fresh look at a political titan who you thought you already knew everything you needed to know about. But there's a whole bunch of fresh insights and I think some very interesting analysis about his version of conservatism and how that applies very much to the topic we're talking about right now. It's called What Would Reagan Do? By Chris Christie and Ellis Henican.
Boy, that's genius. That really is. I have often said that, the macro, no book, no research, no giving examples, just Reagan would be a very moderate Republican today. He would not be anywhere welcome in the extreme part, for sure, of this party that acts like they're Reagan folks when the real Reagan folks are guys like we got on right here. Quin Hillyer, who since he was 12 years old was spouting off, I'm a conservative Republican, and coming up with theory that adults were listening to. So, those are the Reagan people. That's so interesting, Ellis. I think that's incredible. Quin, isn't that a brilliant idea?
Well, it is, and I'm glad that Ellis has a somewhat of a conservative co-author there, because I don't think Ellis would welcome it if I wrote a book on my own called What Would Hubert Humphreys Do? Well, you know what, Quin? All of us can admire characteristics of great Americans. We don't have to agree with them about everything. But I got to tell you, in researching the book over the past months, I did discover some things about Reagan that I really have come to admire. His ability to work with a diversity of people is extraordinary. His commitment to some really very solid principles is remarkable and frankly very different from most political leaders today. I really think that for people of a variety of political perspectives, there's some lessons to learn from that guy. Oh, there are a lot of lessons to learn from that guy. He was genuine. I mean, he really believed what he said. He loved America in a visceral way. He was, look, he tried to beat his Democratic opponents like a drum if he could, but he also treated them with respect and worked with them when he could, and thought that it was important to put the country first. And I don't have to agree with him on Iran Contra or on some of the things he did in the Democratic realm. In fact, it's funny to hear many Republicans today trying to distance themselves from Reagan on issues like immigration, where he was frankly rather open-minded. Well, I mean, Ronald Reagan, in my book, was right on almost everything, and he was the epitome of a conservative. And Trump is actually not very conservative. Trump is a transactional politician trying to figure out how can he position himself to get more praise and more power, and he will throw out one set of beliefs and adopt another in a heartbeat, except on immigration. But I mean, he was pro-choice before he was pro-life. He was for the Constitution before he filed something in court that said that he actually, as president, did not have to support the Constitution. Literally. In court, a court filing, Trump said, "No, I am not bound by the oath to, quote, support the Constitution." Stuff like that drives me crazy.
Oh, boy. Corey Johnson with you. Quin Hillyer's with us. Ellis Henican. Hey, best quality, best price, best selection. Your Rouse's Market tastes like home. Over 60 locations. They've been doing it for over 60 years. Rouse's Markets in your neighborhood. Rouse's Markets tastes like home. Let me see if I can find this Rush Limbaugh quote real quick, guys. The people that voted for Trump are never going to abandon him. I don't care what the media does. They're never going to abandon him. You know why? They elected him knowing who he is. And in many cases, they admire who he is. He's the one person standing in the way of them losing their country. In their minds, that's what's at stake. I think that's a pretty accurate quote about the MAGA Trumpster folks.
Well, it is an accurate quote about some of them, or how some of them feel, but they're just absolutely dead wrong. I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is the only one standing between them and the loss of their country is absolutely ludicrous. And as a matter of fact, if they want a winner, why would they stick with a guy who led his party to losses in 2018, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023? He has lost and lost and lost again. How does that advance the ideals that they claim to have, that they claim will be the only thing that saves the country? If he keeps losing, he ain't going to save the country.
Ellis, Liz Cheney sort of said the opposite. She said, you elect Trump, you lose the country. You elect Biden again, it's politics we may not like, but we'll survive it and move on. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and there is, I think, for most sane people, an ability to recognize, you know what, I don't agree with every single thing a politician does, but I want them to save some core values that I consider important. And one of them is the rule of law, and another is that elections are sacred, and another is that the president isn't the king. I mean, those are some principles that, you know, they're politicians. I mean, I don't love everything that Nikki Haley stands for. I mean, I can think of a lot of things to disagree with her about, but I don't think she wants to wreck the nation or to undermine the Constitution. And in the same way that you know, you guys are laughing. I know, I get it. The notion that I'd be involved in writing a book on a basically favorable book on Ronald Reagan, it is a little surprising. But you know what? Sometimes you got to open your mind a little bit.
Yeah, and it's I think just the angle of the book is incredible. Hey, guys, before we move on, will you guys I feel like I'm in a court asking the judge. Will you guys give me a little levity for about 30 seconds, and you'll know where I'm going with this? I don't do a Howard Stern TNA type show. Never have. Don't ever go there. There's enough natural controversy. I think I say enough stuff pretty blunt and frank where I don't need to talk about nudity and things of that nature. Give me some levity, and Quin, I need your help. This non sequitur. Hey, during like an average Saints football game, how many footballs do you think they use in an NFL game? Like a dozen or so, right? They're constantly switching in and out footballs, right?
Probably so, yeah.
Okay, so lots of balls used in an NFL game. Wouldn't that be safe to say?
Yeah, I wonder where you're going with this.
I'm going with this is because I don't want to say the word, and I just said it, and it's best we just move on, and folks, I think, will catch on. Because I just don't like saying these kind of things on the radio. I think they're kind of vulgar and childish, and I think they're nasty words that people don't want to hear on the radio or television. Nancy Mace today in Congress with Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who's got lots of problems. It's kind of strange. He showed up for a contempt hearing, which I don't know which side to kind of put my finger on that's sort of right or wrong on that. But anyway, Nancy Mace uses this vulgar term in Congress. Quin, Ellis, I just don't think there's a place for that. And I'm not some, child or, I can't handle a curse word. I'm a Yaddy New Orleanian. Off the air, I curse a lot. I just don't think it's up in Congress. And it's a woman saying it too.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Listen, people who are brought up right, and I'd like to think that's true of the three of us, you learn that there's a time and place for things, and the Congress of the United States is somewhere that you ought to have some respect for. You ought to dress appropriately and talk appropriately, any more than you would go to Galatoire's and put your feet up on the table.
Exactly.
It's perfectly fine to do that at the park, but you don't do that at a good restaurant.
Quin, sorry for that weird segue into that. Ellis nailed it. You don't wear a hoodie. You don't wear a hoodie to Congress ever. And I don't think you wear tennis shoes. With the suit, okay? Leather-soled shoes. Women can wear the tennis shoes, walk in the hall. They enter Congress. They put on the heels. They switch them out and put the tennis shoes in the bag. Yeah, I don't think you wear a hoodie, and I don't think you use the words that Nancy Mace used today. I mean, it's crazy what we're dealing with today. It's crazy.
Well, I think maybe it's okay if you're not in the victory formation.
Wow. Dennis Allen might disagree. We're going to bring in Ed Daniels and Jameis Winston now.
There you go. I'm glad y'all caught the reference. Look, what Nancy Mace is a train wreck. She has been a couple of weeks ago, I think, like 90%, all but one of her staff resigned en masse. She's been through more chiefs of staff in just a few years than most congressmen do in a whole career. She can't keep an intern longer than 4 days because she's so crazy. She went to a group of evangelicals, to a political prayer breakfast of evangelicals, and got up there and said that she almost didn't make it. She really didn't want to come because her boyfriend
was trying to keep her in the bed.
Rolled over and said, "Let's do it again, babe." She said that to a group of evangelicals.
Exactly.
There's a difference. This is the way I would put it. There's a difference between politics and class. And, there are low-rent people everywhere. And including, it turns out, in the Congress. You've been following the antics of Lauren Boebert in the last days. I mean, to me, she's an example. Whether you agree with the political view she takes or not, there's just something low-class and low-rent about that. People did not used to, by and large. I mean, Quin will tell us there's some history of some trashy doings in the House of Representatives. He knows this as a former staffer. But you know what? It's not the place to do that any more than going out to a fancy restaurant, you kind of need to know how to behave.
I mean, the hey, Obama, the liar comment during the State of the Union, it seems mild compared to today, Quinn.
Very mild compared to today. And look, there's been a race to the bottom from both sides.
God, it's so true.
And maybe maybe later I can get into some of the stuff that Joe Biden is doing that should enrage everybody. But we're picking on the right now, and there are certainly some folks on the right who deserve to be picked on because, low rent is the term, especially for people like Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert.
Yeah, and Quinn, I don't really care about Hunter Biden, okay? I want justice to be served. I want the facts to get out there. I don't want Hunter Biden getting away with anything. I don't want it a political agenda, whatever. I don't have time to worry about Hunter Biden, Got other stuff on my plate. I don't know who's right or wrong going into the contempt hearing or not, but I think and tell me if I'm wrong, I know she's an elected official. If Marjorie Taylor Greene is stepping up to make comments or ask questions, I don't think Hunter Biden was wrong by tapping his lawyer and saying, all right, let's beeline out of here right now. Go ahead with that, Quinn.
Well, no. I would disagree with that. If Hunter Biden is subpoenaed by Congress, Hunter Biden should show up before Congress, just like when Jim Jordan, the congressman, was subpoenaed by the Democratic majority and he refused to show up, just like when what was his name, the chief of staff under Trump, Mark.
Well, he showed up. He just got up and left when the Joker.
Look, everybody, if you are subpoenaed before Congress, you might not like it, but you legally should show up. And both sides should be held to the same standard. And right now, neither side is being held to that standard. And frankly, I think contempt of Congress should carry serious criminal penalties.
Ellis?
And it doesn't, and it carries almost zero penalties.
Yeah.
Listen, also, I mean, he's in an interesting position. He did kind of call their bluff and say, listen, I don't trust you guys behind closed doors because I've seen the stuff you've been doing. Let's have an open hearing. I'll come and sit here in front of television cameras in the whole world. I'll answer every question you want to ask. I'll address every issue you have. And they didn't want to do that. I mean, it's not like he's ducking exactly. In fact, I think a lot of Dems would rather he just go away because Corey's right. I mean, he's a kind of a sad sack of a character. All of us in our families have people who have suffered from addiction issues, and it's often embarrassing, honestly. I mean, it's they do stuff that makes everybody feel uncomfortable, and it's a battle you fight for the rest of your life, even when you think you're ahead of it. Sometimes people have relapses and they make their relatives uncomfortable, but it's kind of interesting. I wish the Republicans just said, fine, come, we'll question you in public and we'll get all the answers from you.
Quinn?
There's good arguments on both sides of the testifying in public thing. And if you actually listen to the legal arguments made by the Republican staff director there, they actually do make sense. At the same time, if they couldn't get him any other way, maybe they should have just, amended their rules and let him come testify in public. I'm not sure what the right thing is there. What I do know is this. This isn't just about Hunter Biden being a drug addict. This is about Hunter Biden trading influence, saying openly that that's what he's doing, saying multiple times openly that he is trading in influence, and about his father, whether or not his father benefited, which is a different question, which he might have, but about his father absolutely knowing that he was trading influence, which we have absolute proof that Joe Biden knew that his son was trading influence. And, that still doesn't mean that Biden affected policy, that Joe Biden changed his policy, but he knew what his son was doing and didn't put a stop to it. And that in itself should raise some red flags.
Ellis?
Well, listen, I think it's fine to condemn Hunter Biden. I have no doubt that he did all kinds of things that broke rules. Apparently, he didn't pay his taxes. He violated a gun law at the point that hardly anyone else has ever been charged with. But I have no doubt that Hunter Biden did all kinds of things that weren't proper. I do think we should point out on the way to condemning him, however, that influence peddling is pretty much the business of Washington. I mean, pretending and exaggerating and talking about the contacts you have with public officials is really the business of Washington. K Street is filled with law firm after lobbying outfit after influence peddler who does nothing all day long other than tell clients who pay him money that you hire me, you give me money, and I have these abilities to influence decision makers in the government. And that, if we want to condemn that, I mean, I would like to condemn it. I'd like to stop all of it. I'd like to end lobbying. I'd like to, but to single out Hunter Biden and to suggest that somehow or another he's uniquely guilty of acting like he has some influence over important government officials and gets paid for doing so, man, there's a whole lot of other people we got to shut down at the same time. I just think we need to acknowledge that somewhere in this conversation.
If I can jump in, the difference, Ellis, is that there's a big difference between registered lobbying for domestic interests and refusing to register as a lobbyist while you're trading influence on behalf of hostile foreign governments, including direct subsidiaries of the Communist Party government in China. And look, you can say all you want about how K Street has lobbyists that trade influence, but there's a difference between trading influence for Boeing, trading influence for the pharmaceutical manufacturers, trading influence for the unions, and trading influences for communist China, or trading influence for the mayor, the wife of the mayor of Putin's Moscow, and then not registering with the government and to say that you're doing it.
But Quin, as you know, all of those governments have people lobbying and representing them in Washington for money. And listen, maybe you got him, or maybe he didn't register the way he should. I'm sure there's some regulatory thing that he violated. That seems clear to me. But to suggest that people we don't like, enemies of America, people who have views we disagree with, that they shouldn't be represented in Washington. If they're represented every day, there's a paid lobbyists, Quin. That's who the Russians have people in Washington. The Chinese have people. That's the business of Washington right there. That's the business of Washington.
No, big difference between being a paid and open lobbyist and being a secret person who's not even specifically, getting a lobbyist's fee, but is actually being cut in on foreign business deals worth millions and millions of dollars. That is a big difference. That is a difference not just in degree, but in kind. It's sleazy, it's wrong, and it is illegal.
Well, it's probably a technical violation of some regulation somewhere. I get that. But Quin, you can't be offended at the notion that someone is in there peddling influence, trying to get government officials to change their views on things, and stating openly and frankly exaggerating their ability to do that. That is what happens in every one of those offices on K Street every single day of the week for people we like, and
there is a difference,
and that's what makes that town so wealthy. That's what it is, right there.
If I pay you and you register, and I pay you X dollars per hour for X work, that is entirely different from cutting you in on a secret $10 million deal to give you part ownership in a business controlled by the Communist Party of China, and not reporting it and not doing anything by the law. And then, by the way, by doing all the other things like paying hookers to go across country and trying to write it off as a business expense and thus defrauding the American taxpayer while you're doing it.
Well, I hope you'll join me in a call to outlaw lobbying. We would be much better off without any of it. All that stuff you just described happens every day of the week with all these other sleazy actors making a buck. Listen, here's what you need to concede, Quin. The only reason that this guy is in the crosshairs is that the president of the United States has enemies and they're trying to get to him through his drug-addicted son. That's what's going on here. It's nothing to do with being offended about some lobbying regulation being ruled. It's a political hit job on a vulnerable kid of a powerful public official that people are trying to hurt. That's what this is about from day one.
That's absolute dishonest nonsense. That is and if it were on, if the shoe were on the other foot, if the son of a Republican official were doing the same thing, you would be all over him, and you darn well know it. Just like I've been all over Trump's children for doing stuff that is a lot less corrupt than what Hunter Biden has done. Actually, I'm not sure if that's right. I have a very keen understanding that public officials cannot be blamed for the sins of their spouses and their adult children. When you go into public life, when people come with families, and sometimes those families do things that you don't like. We have a whole history of presidents and congressmen and others who've had embarrassing relatives. And, from Billy Carter to Nixon's brother. I mean, almost every family there are people who were kind of not up to standards that you would like. That's just the reality of life. I think you need to be a little understanding of that. And grown children, too. They do things to embarrass their parents sometimes, too.
Hey, Quin, final thought on Hunter Biden before we move on. Just giving you the last word on this conversation.
Final thought on Hunter Biden is that these are very serious offenses that he's charged with, and it's not just because it's Hunter. It's because his father knew about them, lied about knowing about them, met with all his business partners dozens and dozens of times, and somehow, there's no evidence that he changed policies, but somehow every single time the policies that Joe Biden pursued were the exact policies that those foreign entities wanted him to pursue. And so there is something here that's not just about Hunter Biden. It's legitimate questions about Joe Biden. And I'm not saying he's guilty, but if you lie again and again about how many, about what you knew about the sleazy stuff your son was doing, and then it turned out you used 3 fake email accounts and had dozens of meetings with your son's business partners, that's serious.
A few minutes ago when you said China, I was like, man, perfect time to segue into the Trey Yen spot. But then you brought up the hookers, and I was like, how do I go into the Trey Yen spot now? Anyway, I'm going to do it. Trey Yen on the North Shore in Mandeville, critically acclaimed, nationally recognized. There are 41,000 plus Chinese restaurants in the United States of America. You can go look at some lists like top 25, top 50 in America. Trey Yen's most likely on that list. Right across the lake in Mandeville. So good. Trey Yen. It's another edition of Hillyer and Henican. Right-leaning Quin Hillyer's with us. Left-leaning Ellis Henican's with us. Quin, I guess I'll start with you on this one. I call Clay Higgins the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man now because of the, Ghostbuster comment or whatever. The January 6th stuff. Hopefully we can move on from this quick. Quin, I'll start with you. I don't know about you, but I watched it live like you, like everybody else, on TV. There's no new video or no new documents or anything that's going to change the general premise of what went on. We all saw it live on television. Am I missing anything at all, possibly?
you're missing very, very little, if anything. What happened on January 6th was inexcusable. Trump bears the blame for it. It was, Clay Higgins saying there were 200 FBI agents actually encouraging this riot. It's absolute nonsense. If he has the proof, he needs to give us the proof by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning or shut the bleep up, because this business about saying, oh, there were ghost buses in there and the riots were an inside job, that's beyond Looney Tunes, because he knows anybody that's not hearing voices knows that is not true. It's just not true. By the way, I've got to interrupt here. This is big news. LSU fans will be particularly interested in hearing this. Nick Saban is retiring from Alabama.
Wow, that is giganticus news. Holy smokes.
Just came across the transom, as they used to say. So sorry to interrupt the political stuff, but that's going to rock the worlds of a lot of people in the Southeastern Conference and, frankly, nationwide.
Wow.
Boy, that is. Now, let me ask you. You guys are both smart in college football. Do you think the disappointing end to the season this year had an impact on that? Were you expecting that? What do you read into it?
Well, I'm sitting in Alabama. I don't think anybody expected that. I think the thought was that Saban had rescued what started as a weak season and showed that he was still competitive and that he would want to go out on top and would not want to go out with a very close overtime loss like that. So this is a shocker.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a shocker, although there was some talk earlier in the year, just, the rumors and rumblings, which never really were discussed ever before this season, really. I forget, is Saban 70 now? I don't know. Saban's,
yes, he is.
And he's got a place in Clayton, Georgia, which is like near the Highlands in North Carolina on a lake. He's got automotive dealerships, Mercedes-Benz dealerships that he's partners of all around the Southeast. Ellis, you may not know college football like maybe I do or Quin, but I don't know what you do know. Can you think of a college football coach that's anywhere near this guy as far as greatest of all time? I can't even, when we were growing up, the Bear Bryant, Ara Parseghian, all these different names that were thrown out there, the Bud Wilkinsons, and the Barry Switzers. Nick Saban blows them all away, doesn't he?
I think that's right. First of all, that's a pretty high bar there, comparing me to you two, who's I would say pretty much obsessively crazed in your knowledge of college football. So I'm not gonna pretend to beat you on that. But I would say this: I do think, and one of the reasons this year was such an anomaly is that in recent years it really has become the case that there was the SEC. And then there was the rest of college football.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is played at a level. Now, some people on campus might disagree with that. They might think they've turned these players and coaches into millionaire gods, and that's not really what education should be about. But if you like football, that really was the A-team there, what was going on in the SEC. And so I do think it was interesting this year that the playoff system in college football did not produce a championship that involved any team from the SEC. And I have to assume that it was just an anomaly. I mean, next year they'll be back on top, because I do sense, even for my lowly perch guys, that the quality of the football, the prowess of the football played in the SEC is really a notch or two above that played anywhere else.
Quin, you could almost say the SEC West Division's better than any other conference.
Probably so. Although now that the Big Ten is getting all those teams from the West Coast, which, by the way, should be anathema. I mean, college football had turned into a joke with all the moving around among conferences. But you had all those West Coast schools to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is probably by next year going to be right up there with the SEC as just the mega ruler of college football.
Speaking of, have you seen LSU's schedule next year? They play USC, they play UCLA, they play Oklahoma, they play Alabama. Might be the greatest football schedule in the history of the game. That LSU
certainly the toughest.
God, my God, yeah. Every year it's LSU always top 5, top 10 toughest schedule. Okay, Ellis, you never got a chance to jump on January 6th. Can you make it quick? Because I think we're all on the same page. We all saw it live. Nothing's going to change the narrative. You can't say the touchdown throw was a safety or they punted on that play when it was a touchdown throw. Everyone saw it live.
Corey, after listening to Quin's eloquent words on that, I really have nothing else to add. I thought he put it quite eloquently, and I have to say I'm enjoying my role as a college football commentator here.
Hey, Ellis, real quickly, I was disappointed you weren't on the Epstein list. Not on the plane, not on the island. What the hell's going on?
Stop that.
Yeah, you can't even crack jokes. I'm cracking the joke like a criminal kind of funny. You'd be a criminal element. Then as I'm cracking the joke, I'm thinking about what he got busted for, and I'm like, Corey, shut up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There are very few things that I won't joke about, but yeah, pedophilia.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean that like that. I just meant the list, who's going to be on it, the Aaron Rodgers, Kimmel thing, all that. No, apologies to you, Ellis, and the audience. I don't joke about pedophilia. As it was coming out, I was like, Corey, stop. I'm a safety, Quin. Sometimes I'm all by myself. I'm a cornerback. I need safety help. I got caught out there all by myself.
No comment.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, the Epstein list, though, this is I don't even know where to go with this. I just have Epstein list as one of my topics for you guys, but we don't have to talk about it. I think no comment's probably the best way. Hey, Quin, you said there's a lot of stuff that you should be enraged about when it comes to Joe Biden. Why don't you fire off one or two of the biggest and let Ellis comment?
Well, I'll just go on the most recent. His administration yet again got smacked down in court in New Orleans, by the way, by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is based in New Orleans.
Yep.
This was this week. They had tried to institute these new regulations on dishwashers and washing machines to try to make them use less water, which, by the way, if you use less water, you have to run the machines for 2.5 times as long, which doesn't actually save energy. So it was counterproductive. But either way, these bureaucrats under Biden keep getting smacked down in court because they keep overstepping the bounds of their authority. And Biden, with his executive orders, gets smacked down in court for exceeding his authority. And in this case, what he was trying to do by exceeding his authority was clearly making our lives worse, because who wants to have a dishwasher that has to run for 2.5 hours? Who wants to have a washing machine that doesn't actually wash your clothes? And so, maybe step back and say it's not government's role to do anything and everything it wants because some cadre in government thinks that they know best, especially when you don't have the authority to do it in the first place, which is what the court ruled 2 days ago.
Ellis?
Well, let me jump in here on that one, you guys. First of all, thank goodness the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals is not the final arbiter of the law of the land. It is now the most conservative circuit in the entire country. They have views of the role of government that are frankly very, very different from those of most Americans. And I would join most Americans, I think, in saying that there is a proper role for government in trying to make the world a better place. So just look at what we've achieved as a nation through pressure from the government. Yes, Quin, in improving gas mileage in automobiles, in promoting hybrid and electric vehicles out there, and yes, in making home appliances more efficient. We do have some environmental problems, trying to save the coast in a place like Louisiana. I understand some conservatives don't like that. They think industry ought to be able to do anything it darn wants to the environment. But you know what? We do have some perils out there. They do affect all of us, and the profit motives of big companies aren't the only thing we need to be concerned about. Otherwise, among other things, the coast of Louisiana is going to wash away. And I want the government in there telling those companies, no, you can't do that stuff that destroys the world. There are some values more important than your profits. And that's exactly the debate that's going on right now.
Nobody said the government does not have the government as a whole does not have the authority. The question is, what branch of government has the authority? And the bureaucrats do not have the authority to go against the express language of the laws passed by the elected officials, and especially not in an arbitrary and capricious manner, which is what they did here, and which, by the way, is counter. As the court noted, it actually runs counter in many ways to actual environmental health. It is not for them to say, Congress said this, but even though Congress said this, we think it's better to do it our way, and so we, the bureaucrats, are going to demand it. That is going way beyond their authority, and they need to be reined in, and thank goodness the courts are doing so.
Well, we can discuss in greater detail some other day about what's arbitrary and capricious, but I would remind you that Congress has authorized the Executive Environmental Protection Agency to promulgate regulations and enforce those regulations on such things as the energy and water that is wasted in home appliances. There's absolute history on that stuff, and I want them in there making that stuff better, making it safer, and protecting our world. I don't think that's some crazy idea. I think most Americans want that.
This was not the Environmental Protection Agency. This was the Department of Energy, and this was the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy is trying to regulate water use, which is out of its purview. Its purview is energy appliances, not water use.
Quin, real quick, I got an old-fashioned machine that takes a lot of water, the agitator, not one of those European slosh-around machines. I'm thinking it will go up in value tremendously. Could you please be quiet?
I think you should sell it to Quin. He likes wasted water. Sell it to Quin.
By the way, I've got some cans of Freon, the old refrigerant. If anyone needs it, it's $500 a can.
Yes. Send it to me. Send it to me as payment for doing this show.
Exactly. Hey, guys, like about 10 seconds each. Ellis, you could be the biggest Biden supporter. The defense secretary thing is weird. This Lloyd Austin.
No, you can't. No. High government officials can't disappear into hospitals for days at a time without telling people. That's. I'm enough of a reporter to find that unacceptable.
Quin?
Unacceptable. Ellis is right.
And, he's got prostate cancer. Everybody wants him to be cured of that. I think they caught it early. He had to go back in from an infection. When you heard the surgery date, it was mind-blowing, wasn't it, Quin? It was like a few weeks ago.
It was the first surgery was a couple of weeks ago, and then when he went back in was about 9 days ago. Let me take 10 seconds and say, everybody, when Ellis's book comes out with Chris Christie, please read it. I'll be eager to read it. I also want to advertise. I have a novel out. It's called The Accidental Prophet. You can get it on Amazon, and so read both of us, and I think you'll have some fun.
I think
valuable advertising moments on the Corey Johnson show. We both appreciate that.
QuinHillyer.com, Henican.com. It's all there, right, boys?
You got it.
Thanks a lot, Corey. Great show.
Thank you so much. That's Quin Hillyer and Ellis Henican. I'm Corey Johnson. 5 o'clock powwow now.
Global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Laitram.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
River City. Total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson.
Susan Spicer joining us on the program.
Even when they presented me the award, the people that I look up to the most, Frank was there and Donald Link was there. It does cause you to reflect back and think about your whole career.
Maybe the Stella Brennan Award says that to you, like I've arrived.
It certainly is kind of the ultimate honor when it comes to cooking and hospitality in New Orleans and the world.
New Orleans style talk gumbo, served daily.
Doesn't get much better than that, huh?
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand. And we'll save your colors so you don't have to save those old cans. Helm Paint offers free 2-hour delivery. Our in-store decorators will assist you on deciding what color and type of paint to best showcase your home. But most importantly, as your local independent Benjamin Moore dealer, our products provide the greatest value in the paint industry. Superior coverage, and Benjamin Moore paint simply covers better and lasts longer. New Orleans is a city of vibrant color, and no one else provides the paints of New Orleans like Helm Paint and Decorating. Visit any of our 6 locations or online at helmpaint.com.
Helm Paint, let us steer you right. Helm Paint and Supply.
Ford F-150, #1 seller in America. What about in the USA? Let's see, what about in the world? Who sells more trucks than Ford? Nobody. It's because the Lamar team is the real team. All that makes it happen is one goal. Everybody having a great experience at Lamar Ford. We became #1 for a reason, because we're good. And we need to prove it every day, every deal, all of the time.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family owned and operated. Leidenheimer French bread.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Making your way in the world.
Management tells me that the 5 o'clock power hour has been canceled and they're going to run back-to-back Cheers reruns from 45 years ago. I say the hell with that. I say it's the Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson. We're rolling till 5:30 on television. We go all the way till 6 p.m. on the radio. Oh, so fine. 93.9 FM. CoreyTalks.com live streaming. We're on YouTube. But first, number 9, Mr. Drew Brees with the introduction. Mr. Drew Brees. Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you. Thanks so much for joining us on this wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Oh, yeah. Got a good one lined up for you. The 5 o'clock powwow this afternoon, brought to you by Latrim, the global manufacturing giant that's hiring. It's 2024. A lot of you are like, man, new year, new things, change. Tired of this job. This job doesn't respect me enough. Don't get paid enough. Don't like this job. Life's too short to be miserable. A lot of folks change their way of thinking, change their life during coronavirus crisis, rethought about things. People stopped doing what they're doing work-wise. They've been doing it for decades. Switched over to something different. Want to switch over to the winning team? I'll tell you what, go to the website, latrim.com, and just check out what they do. It is a worldwide manufacturing giant. The shrimp peeling machine that J.M. LaPere invented over 70 years ago, state of the art, still the industry standard around the world. Now, they've improved it and updated it, but it's still the Latrim shrimp peeling machine, the industry standard worldwide. That led to the all-plastic modular conveyor belt. You name a plant, a manufacturing facility in the world that uses conveyor belt technology. It could be Anheuser-Busch or Coca-Cola or Pepsi, moving cans or bottles or cases. It could be automotive like Ford or Toyota or Mercedes-Benz, moving cars down a conveyor belt, an assembly line. Chances are it's an Intralox belt from Latrim right here in New Orleans. The all-plastic modular conveyor belt invented here. The industry standard worldwide, Intralox. New Orleans born, bred, and based Latrim. Latrim is hiring. East Bankers, West Bankers, they got you covered at their Elmwood facility. North Shore folks, you don't have to come across the lake. Latrim has an I-12 facility for you. For a full listing of positions available, go to latrim.com. Latrim spelled L-A-I-T-R-A-M, Latrim.com. 5 o'clock powwow this afternoon brought to you by Latrim. The big news story of the day. Nick Saban retiring as head football coach at the University of Alabama. 6 national titles at Alabama. Played for a few more. Every single year, number 1, number 2, number 3, national title contender in the playoff, just missing it. The dominating team of college football, the dominating coach, the dominating program. Nick Saban retiring. Of course, winning the national title at LSU. Let's just get things straight. I'm an LSU guy. Got out of LSU in 91, class of 91. Spent many years on the LSU campus. Got my degree from LSU. I bleed purple and gold off the air. I'm a fan of LSU football, pulling for Brian Kelly, follow recruiting the team, all that. With that said, Nick Saban, the Alabama football team, the Alabama program the last 15 years, the single greatest coach, the single greatest program, all of that, Alabama is it. Nick Saban and Alabama is it. I mean, when I was, growing up, even before that, just a generation ago, 15, 20, 25 years ago, greatest college football team of all time or program. People would argue Alabama. People would argue Notre Dame. You might get someone thrown in like Nebraska, Oklahoma, USC. There's no argument anymore. Alabama's number 1, and 2 and 3 and 4 can argue who's number 2. And it's by a long, far distance away. Alabama football, greatest college football program of all time. Not Notre Dame, not USC, not Ohio State, not Texas, none of them. Alabama, not LSU, Alabama. Greatest college football coach of all time. It's not Bud Wilkinson or Switzer. It's not Bear Bryant. It's Nick Saban by a long shot. No one's even close. No one's even in his category. Alabama football I don't like it, just how it is. All alone at number one. Nick Saban as a college football coach, greatest of all time, all alone at number one. LSU football fans, today's a day, I mean, you can be very happy Nick Saban's gone from Alabama, but also a day to reflect, seriously. I know I've always appreciated it. What we've been enjoying as LSU football fans for the last few decades, Nick Saban set it all up. I talk about the IG's office in New Orleans. Bob Sarasoli, literally the father of the IG, the big dig in Boston, wrote the book that's used around the country. He set the foundation up right for the IG's office in New Orleans. That's why it's a strong office, an independent, autonomous office. And the Metairie office is a weak political joke. Jefferson Parish's IG is a joke. There are no reports out of Jefferson because the politicians control that. The foundation's weak. They control the budget. There's no autonomy. The opposite, believe it or not, of the New Orleans office. Because Bob Sarasoli, post-Katrina, set it up right. The foundation is strong as can be. That IG's office is a blessing. Jefferson Parish, you need one. Nick Saban set up the same foundation with LSU football. There are things in place today at LSU football that Nick Saban put into play that are just embraced. And Les Miles embraced them. Ed Ogeron embraced them. Brian Kelly's embracing them. It's just part of the deal. And Saban put them all into place. Put them all into play. No, LSU football fans, Nick Saban is arguably, if you want to go by real wins and statistics and percentages and all of that, Les Miles is the greatest LSU football coach in the history of the program. National titles, national title contention, playing for national titles. No one's done more than Les Miles. He's got one, which is equal to every other coach, played for another, which is more than any other coach, was in contention for a half dozen. If Nick Saban doesn't go to Alabama, Les Miles could be one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. Alabama was like for the LSU, like the 49ers with Montana and Steve Young were to the Saints, the Jim Mora era. It's got a monster you're going up against. No, Nick Saban set up LSU. And LSU, we've been riding that for 20 years, for 2 decades plus. That foundation that Nick Saban built. This time you've enjoyed, you got to thank Les Miles. You got to thank Brian Kelly. You even have to thank Ed Ogeron for the greatest team ever and then dragging the program down to get Curly Hallman level. I don't know how you demolish something so quickly. But it's Ed Ogeron. But still, you got to credit the coach for 2019. He was the guy. But yeah, you got to credit Nick Saban. He's the first mover. He's the foundation guy, the pilings, the slab, the framing, the electrical, the plumbing. It's all in place. It's a solid built home. The foundation was done right. Now, LSU fans, it's a big day. You reflect and thank Nick Saban, but also Nick Saban no longer at Alabama. And Alabama football will never be the same. It won't just continue. They won't be going. The next coach won't win 6 national titles. Alabama won't be in national title contention all the time. You could argue the baton was at least pseudo passed to Georgia and Kirby Smart recently. But I never discounted Alabama or Nick Saban, kind of neck and neck. Just Alabama finally had equal competition in Georgia. No, Saban goes out, almost on top. Not like he won a national title, but a contender, always there, always winning. Amazing. No, LSU fans owe a lot to Nick Saban. Owe a lot to Nick Saban. Wow. That's the big news of the day. Not the big sports story of the day, the big news story of the day. Nick Saban, greatest college football coach in history. Coaching, I hate to say it, the greatest college football program in history. 6 national titles. Retiring as the University of Alabama head football coach. He's got a car dealership empire. I think he owns half the Mercedes-Benz dealership in Baton Rouge, if not mistaken. Nick Saban is set. So are his kids. Coming right back.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" He said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Served in New Orleans' finest restaurants, Leidenheimer French bread. There's a Middle Eastern restaurant that's less than 5 minutes from where Causeway and River Road meet, Lebanon's Cafe. Convenient to Old Metairie and Old Jefferson. Carrollton at Jeanette on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore led us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
In New Orleans, we don't eat to live, we live to eat.
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. More is better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Not just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love, more. When you do something, you have to do it right. You know, it's all about more, and it's all more of the good things.
Get more at Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City.
Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you on a wide open Wednesday of the wide open Wednesday edition of the program. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, Nick Saban retiring as Alabama football coach today. Big news story of the day. Nick Saban retiring. Wow, 25 years ago today, The Sopranos premiered. I don't know about you. I'm mid-50s, 57 years old, grew up in the 70s and the 80s. went from black and white to color TV, the advent of cable television and satellite and high definition, all of it. I've lived almost from day one of television. No, I went around in the 50s and 60s, and that's a big era of TV when it all started. So, no, I did miss that, but lots of reruns, lots of that type of stuff in the 70s. So I got the vibe and feel for it. So like many people, I mean, TV and movies, it's like music, you know? It's like music. No one's better about music or worse about music. It's what you like. That's why when, you know, you get in someone's car and they crank up their music, you're like, dude, are we going to have a conversation? I got to listen to this stuff you feel like listening to. That's why on the golf course, I don't like music on the golf course for two reasons. One, I want to get away from that. This is nature for me. And two, I don't want to hear what you're listening to. I may like that. I may not like it. I may like it, but don't want to hear that right now. So there's no someone's better with music or less about music. You either like music or you don't. Some people are bigger fans of music. Some folks are lesser fans. Some folks go out to live music in New Orleans. Some folks like big concerts, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And there's no someone's better or not. It's just taste. It's what you like. TV, movies, actors, Hollywood, what you like, what you don't like. It's all relative. It's all the same. No one's better than anyone else. But there are some kind of general consensus type things. People that are knowledgeable of the medium, that follow it, that have seen other programs, that understand the quality of TV, comparing. 25 years ago, The Sopranos premiered. 25 years ago today, maybe the greatest television program of all time. Of all time. Shocking that it premiered 25 years ago today, 1999. There's been some follow-up programs that have been pretty damn good to The Sopranos. Godfather of Harlem, I mean, as good as it gets. I think it's on MGM. It's mind-blowing. It's so good. Forrest Whitaker in Godfather of Harlem is as good in his role as James Gandolfini is as Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. And there's a difference. Godfather of Harlem, about 90% of it's true. Some embellishment, some exaggeration, some points Hollywood was trying to make, but generally speaking, all based off of a true story. Bumpy Johnson, my cousin. Godfather of Harlem, Sopranos. Ray Donovan was damn good. Especially the beginning, the first few seasons. But Sopranos, from day one till the final episode, just as good as it gets. So well written. Some of the best acting. Dozens and dozens of characters in the show, like 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 characters, reoccurring some. And just all great acting. There's no drop off in acting. Everyone nails their roles. They're all well written. The production's top notch. Everything is great about it. Now, Sopranos has been running on HBO. I'll probably watch a few episodes tonight. I've probably watched in the last few days, because they've been running it, a lot of Sopranos episodes from different seasons. It's that good. It's that good. For me, for whatever it's worth, the greatest television program of all time. Sopranos, 25 years ago today, The Sopranos premiered on HBO, and they're running it today, and it's pretty damn timeless. Some great news. Timothy Cherami, that shrimper, last seen Saturday, found today, alive, had a makeshift raft, went to the marsh. Details still coming, but this guy survived out in the wilderness, essentially, the marsh, the wetlands of South Louisiana for a few days. Great news, alive. Today at the City Council chamber, the City Health Department, the City Office of Homeless Services, Unity of New Orleans, meeting to close that homeless encampment. They closed the one under the Pontchartrain Expressway on Calliope down by Chapatulas. This is Canal Street under the Claiborne's overpass, the I-10. All this is to get ready for Super Bowl 59. Las Vegas has this year's Super Bowl in about a month. Las Vegas has this year's Super Bowl in about a month. Next February 9th of 2025, Superdome, 8th Super Bowl in the Dome, 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl 59 coming to the Crescent City. We've got about 13 months to get our you-know-what together, and that's what these home encampments being closed is all about, coupled with federal money to put the homeless folks into apartments. Get them help, mental services, psychiatric treatment, medication, get them a job if possible. Freddie King, it's his district. He's going to join us tomorrow on the program. Councilman Freddie King will join us around 4:20 on the program. Hey, speaking of 4:20, if you missed the last hour, the 4 o'clock hour, another edition of Hillyer and Henican, you can check it out on YouTube later tonight if you missed it. An hour, a full hour with Quin Hillyer, right-leaning Quin Hillyer, left-leaning Ellis Henican. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And I'm a registered independent, so I have opinions, and I voiced my opinion during the segment, but it's mostly those guys. I mostly was just playing traffic cop, kind of throwing out the questions and topics. But if you're a staunch Republican, you're going to love some of this and you're not going to like some of it. If you're a, staunch Democrat, liberal, you're going to like some of it and you're not going to like some of it. Quin Hillyer, right-leaning, Ellis Henican, left-leaning. They agree about 10% of the time. 90% of the time diametrically opposed, but they're both smart, both educated, both use common sense, never yelling, never name calling. It's just thoughtful conversation where they happen to be ideologically, opposed. So yeah, 90% they disagree, but I think really interesting conversation. Hillyer and Henican last hour on the program. LBJ Channel 26 had a good story on the 504 golf complex being built right there on I-10 and Broad, I-10 and the old Times-Picayune building. They're rolling. They've got the money, it appears. They've construction crew. It's like ants on a sugar cube. They're moving forward because like the home encampments, 13 months until the Super Bowl, 504 golf plans to open in 2024 this year. Like, get it done quickly. Drive Shack, another triple-decker golf driving range, sports bar, restaurant, entertainment complex. They're getting rolling as well. They're down by the River District, by the Soleil Apartments, right there on Race, Annunciation, right down by the river near the Crescent City connection. So Drive Shack's coming. They plan to open up in 2024 this year. I'm fired up because some night I can't sleep. It's 10:30, 11. I'm wide awake. Go get a snack. Go get a beer, whatever. Go hit some golf balls at the driving range. You think I'm kidding? You'll see me there on a Tuesday at 10:45 at night. Yeah, I'm about to go home and go to bed, but I came to hit some golf balls. I was bored. 504 Golf Drive Shack. Just a couple of many things that are getting done in New Orleans over the next 13 months. That's what's great about a Super Bowl. We used to get them a lot. 1970, 1972, 1975, 1978, 1981, 1986. Starts stretching out. It was like every 2 years. Then it's like every 3, 4, 5, 6. Last Super Bowl was 2013. Next Super Bowl, 2025. It's a 12-year gap, 12, 13 season gap. You got Santa Clara, San Fran next year after New Orleans. You got LA again after that. Then you got Dallas, Atlanta, Phoenix, Tampa Bay, Miami that want in when they decide games. Then you got wild card cities building a new stadium. Then you got some other cities that are going to bid that have indoor stadiums. Could be anywhere. Could be New York again, Minneapolis. Who knows? Anyway, New Orleans probably won't see a Super Bowl again. We're getting the 2025 game, the next Super Bowl in New Orleans. If we're lucky, we'll be like 2032, 2033. That'd be like a 7-8 year gap. That would be incredible. Most likely, based off of history and these gaps we've seen, it's going to be a little bit longer. After the 2025 Super Bowl, the next time we see a Super Bowl probably be like the 2037 game, the 2040 Super Bowl. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the gap thing goes the other way. Starts going, instead of 12 years, back to 8 to 7 to 5. I hope that's the deal. New Orleans should be in that Super Bowl rotation about every 5 or 6 years. Compact city, easy to get around. Best Super Bowl city in America. Everywhere else you're driving, sitting in traffic. Everyone knows this. Corey Johnson with you on a Wednesday.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on magazine, as unique as you.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore led us to you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof, now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans' grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
Whoops. Got caught in the green room. Checking out some stories, some articles. Nick Saban, it's the big news story of the day. Not sports story. It's so big it's a news story. Nick Saban retiring from Alabama after 6 national championships, playing for a few more, 1 national title at LSU. The single greatest college football coach in the history of the game. There's no discussion. There's no argument. You want to argue? Argue who's number 2. Bear Bryant, Bud Wilkinson, Ara Parsegian. I don't know who Barry Switzer, Tom Osborne. Argue that. Go argue who's number 2. But number 1 of all time is Nick Saban at Alabama. Alabama might have the number 2 guy, Bear Bryant, arguably. But Nick Saban is number 1 far and away, no argument. And LSU fans may not like this, but the greatest single college football program in the history of the game. A generation ago, it was a toss-up. It was like Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma, Nebraska, USC. It was like that. Ohio State, things like that. Not anymore. It's Alabama. And like Nick Saban, far and away number 1. Like it or not, it's just how it is. 6 national titles, plus the other half dozen or plus under Wally Wade and Frank Thomas and Bear Bryant and all the other coaches they had at Alabama. Gene, what was the name in 92, 93? I was covering that game. Gene Stallings beating Miami. Nick Saban retiring as head football coach at Alabama. LSU fans, you should be grateful 2 ways. 1, hey, the greatest college football coach at the greatest college football program is retiring. Alabama will never be the same. I'm not saying they won't win national titles in the future or be a great program. They'll never be like they've been. They're not going to 6 national title games over the next 15 years. It's not going to be some seamless transition. They're not going to be the same. You don't remain the same when you lose the greatest of all time. So that's a plus for probably college football, definitely for LSU. The other thing LSU fans should be really grateful for, and this is the important one, the one with integrity and honor. You always want to play the best. You always, in 2019, you love that team because they beat Alabama. You don't want a lesser Alabama team, not a contender, none of that. You want them a great nationally ranked Alabama team that you win. You want them at full strength. Now, the other thing is, reflecting back, LSU football, what it is today, you can thank the foundation maker, the first mover, the guy that built the foundation right. So right that Les Miles embraced a lot of it. Ed Ogeron embraced it. Brian Kelly's still embracing a lot of what Nick Saban put in place over 20 years ago. 24 years ago, Nick Saban arrived in Baton Rouge, 2000, 24 years ago, and built LSU's football program into the giant it is. I'm talking about Alabama greatest program, Nick Saban greatest coach. The last 24 college football seasons, the last 2.5 decades, Alabama's number 1. You could argue LSU is the second greatest college football program to Alabama over the last 2.5 decades, not in the history of the game. This century, the 2000s, one could easily argue LSU is the second greatest college football program in the land to Alabama the last 24 seasons. It's been a hell of a ride in Baton Rouge. That hell of a ride continues because of the foundation Nick Saban built. A lot of things that are just commonplace at LSU that just are embraced, that are, you almost take them for granted now. That's Nick Saban's doing. That's Nick Saban. Unbelievable. Big news day. Nick Saban retiring from coaching. Hey, Young's Dry Cleaning, they've been at it since 1940. Now 84 years of excellence. They got started in New Orleans before America got into World War II. 1940. It truly is Young's Dry Cleaning, a New Orleans institution. Tired of your dry cleaner? Want to experience the best? Young'sDryCleaning.com. Go online, Young'sDryCleaning.com. Big news story of the day, Nick Saban retiring from coaching from the University of Alabama. No, LSU fans, yeah, Alabama. Don't have to worry about Saban in Alabama like we used to. It's going to be a few years before they're kind of leveled off to whatever new coach comes in. Chances are better than not that the next coach won't even be retained like 3 to 5 years from now. Better chance of failure, not keeping it up to that level, than success. So that's good news for LSU fans. But like I said, the guy building the foundation, you have to respect that. Big news day. Nick Saban retiring 25 years ago today. 25 years ago on this day, The Sopranos premiered. Maybe the greatest television program of all time in the history of the medium. It is to me. I love it. HBO's been playing it again this week, I guess because of the 25-year anniversary. I'm just, I got Cox. I go to 200. That's HBO's first channel. And then it's all the movie channels I have. Some I don't subscribe to. I saw Sopranos up there. Boom. I've been watching Sopranos episodes, different seasons, jumping around for about the last 5 nights. I'll watch some tonight. I picked up Lebanon's Cafe for lunch today. I'm not kidding. I never turn on the television at my house in the morning, during the day. I don't need the distraction. I watch enough TV at night. But when I'll pick up lunch or something like Lebanon's and I come home, I'll go, plop on the sofa, put it on the coffee table, and I turn on the TV. And I had it on, I guess, HBO last night watching Sopranos, and Sopranos popped on. I watched about 15 minutes while I was watching eating Lebanon's, and broke my own rule and then cut it off because I was glued to it. It's like, Corey, it's like 1:15, dude. You're going to watch an hour of Sopranos? Click, turned it off. I did pick up Lebanon's chicken shawarma, some tabbouleh, a fried football kibbe. Carlina and Heba always taking care of me. They'll take care of you. Open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. till 9:30, open throughout the day. Indoor dining, outdoor dining, under the green awning, under the oak trees on the streetcar line, to-go orders, shish kebab, lamb chops, all your favorite Middle Eastern sides. You know what I'm talking about. Lebanon's Cafe. So good. Picked it up today for lunch. Love Lebanon's Cafe. You will too. Wide open Wednesday edition of the program. 5 o'clock power hour. If you missed the last hour, the 4 o'clock hour, you missed a lot. You might want to check it out on YouTube later tonight. Quin Hillyer, right-leaning Quin Hillyer. Ellis Henican, left-leaning Ellis Henican, joined us on the program. Another edition of Hillyer and Henican. We chopped it up, talking all kind of stuff. Great news. Timothy Cherami, that shrimper that went missing on Saturday, found alive today. Made some makeshift raft when his shrimp boat had problems, swam into like the marsh and survived. Great news. Timothy Cherami, South Louisiana shrimper, just a tough outdoorsman. South Louisiana boy, can handle the elements, can survive for a few days out there. I would have been dead. Thank God Timmy Cherami's alive. Amazing story. Today at the City Council, 13 months from now, the Super Bowl will be in New Orleans. Next month, it's in Las Vegas. Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, our 11th. 8th in the Superdome. They're renovating the dome. So finishing up those renovations this offseason of Saints football. When the Saints kick it off in August, September of this year, the dome will be, another $500 million basically put into the Superdome. Since Katrina, it's a couple of $2 billion, I'd say. Roughly. Did I say a couple? That might be a little strong. Maybe $1.5 billion since Katrina put into the Superdome in the last 20 years. This is like the second or third phase. I guess third phase of, not third phase, third, edition of renovations. So, these home encampments, the city health department, the city homeless office, Unity in New Orleans meeting at the council, talking about these homeless encampments. The Calliope encampment already cleared under the Pontchartrain Expressway near Tchoupitoulas. Now they want the one in Tremé under Claiborne's, under the elevated I-10. Canal Street, Claiborne. Freddie King's district, New Orleans City Councilman Freddie King's district. Freddie King will join us tomorrow, Thursday, on the program around 4:20. Freddie King tomorrow on the program around 4:20 to discuss these homeless encampments and other things going on. 504 Golf. LBJ, I saw it on Twitter today, had a good story. I clicked on it, linked me up with the WGNO website. LBJ had a great story with the 504 Golf developers, the guys that are building that triple-decker golf driving range, sports bar, restaurant, entertainment complex where the old Times-Picayune building was. Howard Avenue, I-10 at Broad, Howard Avenue at Broad. It's going to change that light industrial neighborhood right there near the Bridge House. It's going to change that light industrial neighborhood. And it's 504 Golf. It's a triple-decker driving range with netting and lights, just like the Top Golf in Baton Rouge on I-10. So that bad boy is going to be lit up at night. It's going to light up that neighborhood. It's going to be lit up on the Pontchartrain Expressway. People are going to see it. It's going to be a blessing. It's like a $40 million complex. They're getting it built. They plan to open this year in 2024, before the Super Bowl, before that big event, before all those tourists come to town. Drive Shack, another triple-decker golf driving range, sports bar, restaurant, entertainment complex. That bad boy's being built right now, both simultaneously being built. Same concept, same deal, basically competitors in a way. Drive Shack, or excuse me, not Drive Shack, Top Golf. I said Drive Shack. Top Golf will be on the river.
My Sittu, that's Arabic for grandmother, used to make the best football kibbe. You can experience kibbe just like my grandmother used to make, and so many other Middle Eastern favorites on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Since 1896, a true taste of New Orleans. Leidenheimer French bread.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Being a part of people's lives, from an engagement ring to a wedding band. Before you know it, the wedding day is here and groom and bride are exchanging gifts on that day. And not too long after that, there's baby gifts to have. And I just enjoy being part of other people's family, saying, Mr. Friend did my engagement ring and he did my mom and dad's engagement ring. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen. Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson back at you. Thanks so much for joining us. Breaking news, bigger than sports news. It's news. Nick Saban retiring as Alabama head football coach. 6 national titles at Alabama, 1 at LSU. The single greatest college football coach in the history of the game. And 20 years ago, you could argue the single greatest college football program. Which one is it? Is it Alabama? Is it Notre Dame? Is it USC? Is it Oklahoma? Some other schools would like to get in on that argument. A lot of legitimate arguments. There's no argument anymore. Nick Saban, single greatest college football coach of all time, stands alone. Argue who's, number 2. He's far and away number 1. University of Alabama, single greatest college football program of all time. You can argue number 2, Notre Dame, whoever, USC, whatever. There's no more discussion. Saban's the greatest. Alabama's the greatest. It's unfortunate. Now, good news for LSU. Speaking of the greatest last 24 years, outside of Alabama, one could easily argue LSU, the premier college football program in the land this century, the 2000s. Only Alabama, a better program than LSU. LSU, you could easily argue, second greatest to Alabama the last 24 years. It's a legitimate argument. But the 2 points that I was making about Saban, A, Alabama, not the coach anymore. LSU fans, you don't have to worry about Alabama and Nick Saban anymore. That program will have a drop-off. There's no way they'll sustain the greatness that they had with the greatest coach of all time. Alabama folks hope it happens. They hope to hire the right coach. They hope to keep the momentum going. There's 1 out of 100 that happens. I think it's a much greater chance. Seriously, a much greater chance. Not only do they not sustain what they've done, it's like almost impossible, that whoever they hire gets fired in the next 3 to 5 years. There's a better chance the guy Alabama hires gets fired in 3 to 5 years than is the coach in 3 to 5 years. It's hard to follow up success. Hard to follow up the greatest ever. So LSU fans, you're getting a big break. Saban's gone. Alabama's going to drop off. Play them every year, SEC West Division team. And even if they change it, still playing Alabama every year. That's not going away. LSU also, fans should reflect and be grateful. What we as LSU fans have experienced the last 20, 24 years is all because of Nick Saban. Primarily Nick Saban. He's the foundation builder. Les Miles embraced just about everything Nick Saban did. Different personality, different coach, different discipline level, all that. But the infrastructure, the things in place, Les Miles embraced them. Ed Ogeron embraced them. Brian Kelly continues to embrace them. Nick Saban is the foundation builder. You put the pilings in, the slab, the electrical, the plumbing, the framing, the roof. It is a solid built house. LSU has made, redone the kitchen, the bathrooms, may have put a new roof on, but the foundation is solid as hell. Thank you, Nick Saban. LSU fans, the real ones that understand it are indebted to you. No, put LSU back on the map. Les Miles ran with that baton. Ed Ogeron, Brian Kelly, all running with it. Thank you, Nick Saban. 25 years ago today, The Sopranos premiered. Maybe the greatest television program of all time. HBO's been replaying it. If you've never seen it, and a lot of folks have never seen it. There are lots of great programs folks have never seen an episode of, myself included. If you've never seen Sopranos, I highly recommend it. You won't be disappointing. Fantastic acting across the board. And over the, 6-7 seasons, just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of actors, reoccurring roles, all just top-notch, great work, great acting, great script writing, incredible writing, so well written, just great characters, great scripts, great storylines, excellent production. The cinematography is great. What you see of New York and New Jersey is fantastic. Sopranos is off the charts. To me, the greatest television program of all time. And if you like those mob type shows, I'm telling you, as great as James Gandolfini was as Tony Soprano, Forrest Whitaker as Bumpy Johnson in Godfather of Harlem, which, by the way, is coming back for a season 4 on MGM. I think it's coming back later this year, season 4. And unlike Sopranos, which is fiction, Godfather of Harlem is nonfiction. It's amazing. It's 90% real. It's all based off of real life, like Bumpy Johnson's real. Obviously, Malcolm X, other characters in there. It's just incredible. So well done. I'm glad Godfather of Harlem's coming back. Forrest Whitaker just crushing it as Bumpy Johnson. As good as Bumpy Johnson as Tony Soprano with James Gandolfini pulling that role. Incredible. And well-written, great scripts, great acting. If you love Sopranos, you'll love Godfather of Harlem. Ray Donovan was pretty damn good, especially the first few seasons. But boy, 25 years ago today, 1999, The Sopranos premiered on HBO, and they've been rerunning a lot of that. Hey, guys, 5 weeks from today, Valentine's Day. You know what that means? Friend and Company Fine Jewelers on Maple Street in between Broadway and Carrollton. That means Ken Friend's going to take care of you. You actually do have a friend in the jewelry business, an honest guy that knows jewelry and will treat you right. Real natural diamonds, 1 billion years old. Do I even need to say it? What else would they have at Friend and Company Fine Jewelers? Real natural diamonds and a room full of real natural diamonds, everything in it under $1,000. Every price point, everybody. They got a diamond for you at Friend and Company Fine Jewelers. Valentine's Day, even Blue Boy knows it. What, buddy? Better take care of your lady. Valentine's Day, 5 weeks from today. You're right, Blue Boy. Real diamonds, Friend and Company Fine Jewelers, Maple Street in between Broadway and Carrollton, New Orleans. Thanks for joining us. Freddie King joins us tomorrow. See you then.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend and Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend and Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 6 p.m.